Hello everyone. This is the 10th part of the story Game of Thrones, the Prideful one. Chapter 50. I was prepared for what is to come. Most of the last year I have been spent honing my body and mind while gathering a bigger army to prepare for the challenges ahead. Whether I like it or not, I was the so-called champion of light. The one who will journey beyond the wall and guarantee the safety of my family and humanity of the winter zombie apocalypse, that for reasons yet to be fully disclosed to me, a demon was helping them. With that in mind, I sigh as I enter the training area I had set for my men while we waited for the supplies and ships to travel to Lys and found Daenerys waiting for me. With a smile, I approach her. She was big, and while she thought and considered she was fat, I only saw her shining more and more every day. How are you three doing? Very funny, Daenerys giggled. Nothing, just waiting for you. I see, I smiled, taking a seat beside her. Soon we will be marching to Lys, and we'll stay there for a bit, at least until the birth. Medicine here was not exactly precise. She was pregnant, and our estimate was that she was around 6 to 7 months, so after conquering Lys, I would take a break, to ensure she had the babies in a controlled environment. The last thing I wanted was to have my babies be born in the middle of a siege. Daenerys shifted in her chair. She wanted to say something. I've been long enough with her to notice these little things. She wanted to talk and was gathering her thoughts. I want to help you more. Elaborate? I asked with my eyebrows raised. She helped me enough, didn't she? I want to talk some of the load you have. Daenerys sighed. You are always going to war, fighting, organizing your men, and all I do is stay and wait for you. I want to help you. We are supposed to be partners. Oh, she wanted more responsibilities. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. If she saves me the problem of paperwork, I would love her even more. Sure, I do the fighting, you do the talking. That's a start, but now that we have dragons, in the future. Daenerys started, but I stopped her. I knew what she wanted to say. We have dragon, that one day will be rideable, so that way I can help you in battle. Abso-fucking-lutely not. Why? Daenerys asked with a dry tone. An arrow can kill you, or you can fall off them. I know they love you, but that's a chance, and what would our kids do without you? I said, trying to ignite her motherly love to stop this nonsensical idea. And what if you die? Daenerys asked, with cold steel eyes. She was determined to convince me. This was the dragoness that the book showed. I can't. I said that already. I can't die, and then a fucking shadow was close to show me the error of that arrogant comment. You can't die. Yes, you said that already. Daenerys sighed, putting her small hand on my face. I love you, and I want to protect you. I want to protect our children, our family. I want to protect us. I didn't know what to tell her, no matter how convincing her arguments were. My mind was set. Let's talk about this once they get to flying size. Until then, I don't want to hear about it. For now, I wanted to avoid the subject. Daenerys sighed. I will protect you and our family, whether they want it or not. And for the first time since our marriage, we had come to an impasse. She was determined to do as she pleased with this. A queen takes what she wants, didn't you tell me? Daenerys eyed me, with a pseudo-angry smirk. I did, but you really underestimate my ability to stop you, my queen. I smirked back. Like you, nothing will stop me from protecting you and our family, so I suppose, we'll see. We will, Daenerys nodded, with a piercing glare that said, I won't drop this subject. I will protect you. Very well, I smiled, giving her the same look. Not if I protect you first. This would be a long month, while I waited for my ships, a month of discussions about this. Hooray for married life. Cersei Lannister point of view. Ned Stark had escaped the dungeon, right beneath our noses. He had left and no one knew how. He didn't have allies nor visitors in King's Landing, and yet he escaped like he had the fucking key to the door. Varys had his best spies working on the case, but nothing. Lord Stark had disappeared like he was a fucking faceless man. Father was going to kill me once he got here. Without Ned Stark we had nothing to ensure the North staying loyal, and with Stannis raising his fucking banners, and the North would surely support him now. We had no allies now, but it didn't matter. We are the lions, and we preserve against anything, for we are the mightiest ones. My queen, the disgusting voice of the eunuch got my attention. Varys, any news about Lord Stark? I said bitterly. Rumors are he is traveling hiding as a merchant to avoid any suspicion, but considering all the time he has been out of his cell, it is fair to assume he is on enemy lines, Varys stated, once again the obvious. Any news about when father is coming? I wanted to break my cup of wine and cut his fat neck. He was supposed to know more, to help more, why did we even pay him? He's to arrive in a fortnight, my queen, Varys informed. I had 2 weeks before I was belittled by father for letting the wolf escape the lion's den. Very well, I sighed as I filled my cup of wine, keep me updated, and do your job better. Joffrey Baratheon point of view. The insolent worm, the worm with wolf fur had escaped, this can't be, this can't be. My fiancé had escaped before too, my toy had escaped, and now my other toy had escaped TOY, unforgivable, unforgivable. Now my uncle wanted to oppose me, I was chosen by the gods, unforgivable, and that peasant that thinks he can be king because he married the dragon bitch, unacceptable. My king, are you okay? One of my Kingsguard inquired, worried, for what? Why would someone so much lower than me feel anything but total admiration and devotion for me? I want Ned Stark in my hands, and I want him now. I shouted, my face was red, boiling in anger. We are doing our best to find him, my Kingsguard said solemnly. I didn't want his best, I wanted my toys back. I don't want your efforts. I want the Starks at my feet, as they bleed out, I spat leaving the room, or I'll have your head, old man. Caw. This motherfucker is crazy, how many times that bitch dropped his egg, she practically brooded a scrambled egg. I rather deal with the other idiot, this bitch is unstable as fuck this shit I'm out, caw. Unbeknownst to everyone, a mysterious raven with an eye patch was seeing everything with his one mighty eye, as he decided it was better to continue helping Lord Stark, instead of spying this bitch. Ned Stark point of view. It had taken me a while, but I managed to get out of that wretched place, but I had to avoid getting caught or recognized, so I cut my hair off and changed my clothes with those of a beggar I found. At the moment, I was traveling with a merchant to Riverrun, from there things would turn for the best, I would finally be back with my family. Wait for me, I muttered to myself, holding the hope I would be once again reunited with my family. Catelyn Stark point of view. Ned had escaped, and now it was a mission of who caught him first, life or death depending on who did it. War was looming above us, no matter what, even if Ned didn't want to, and to top the things that were happening, the bear had proven to be a treacherous creature, betraying us by marrying the Targaryen girl, raising his banners to take the throne. He was a threat, I always knew something about him wasn't right, he made his house close relationships with ours, and by killing Theon and taking control of his homeland, which meant we didn't have the support of the Iron Islands, nor the Bear Islands, things we would have without him. Justice will prevail, and those who wrong us will pay, I had faith things would turn in our favor soon. Chapter 51. 2 weeks later. My campsite is fairly simple at the moment, looking like a copy of the shit show of V's Dothrak. My tent is cozy enough for me, Daenerys and 3 baby dragons, that sleep by the fire. For now all I have to do is wait. My ships will arrive soon and things will fall into place. But only having to wait doesn't mean I have to do just that. It's light outside, a good time to explore and relax for a bit. Time to explore a bit, I smiled as I walked out of my tent, being brutally stopped by Neltharion, who hissed at me, practically saying, "You are going out without me, not a chance, you are quite the clingy dragon, are you?" I chuckled as I allowed the little dragon to climb up my back. Hiss. Neltharion hissed happily, once he reached my neck and got in a comfortable position. I really hope you don't get like big dogs that never understand their size. I shuddered to think what would happen if Neltharion tried the same thing but being several tons fatter. Hiss? Neltharion hissed in confusion, not really understanding me. Well, let's go. I sighed as I walk out the tent, not before leaving a note to Daenerys, saying, "I'll be back by dinner, I need to stretch my legs, love you." As I happily step away from my campsite, alert and scanning the ground and sky for danger, with Neltharion doing the same. I walked for the better part of an hour, being sure to have fun along the way. But my mind even here still drifted off to my duties as a leader and a husband. It worries me that Daenerys is so close to giving birth, and there is a chance something might happen to her during the birth. She never gave birth in the show, so I had nothing to compare what was going to happen soon, and it was totally terrifying. Neltharion starts to purr, almost like a cat, like reassuring me nothing bad will happen, but the idea still sets me off. "You are right, buddy, I need to stay positive, I chuckled as I continued with my little time-off adventure. Euron Greyjoy point of view. The Iron Islands had been taken by House Mormont. That was unexpected to say the least. For what I could gather, he had a massive army, and had amassed a lot of money. Taking what is mine would take more than I would like to admit. And rumors about him going to Essos and conquering the Dothraki were spiraling like crazy, so while I wanted to kill the bastard, I had to bide my time and find allies to destroy him. Maybe ally with the Lannisters, whoever wanted him dead would work just fine. I could offer the Queen, my cock and the navy she desires, in that exact order. He mocks the drowned god, calling himself the chosen one, but I don't recall choosing him. I am the drowned god. From Old Town to Karth, when men see my sails, they pray, and he will pray. Back to Ronard. After a couple of hours hunting and chilling in the plains, I decided it was time to go back to my campsite. It was a great day. Neltharion seemed to really enjoy the hunting experience, even though he had no power to actually hunt. Yet. But regardless, he had helped, or at least he thought he had, by hissing at the numerous prey we encountered. How about we take this, so they can cook it for us? I inquired, petting Neltharion softly on his head. Hiss, Neltharion hissed in something that could be translated as, fuck yeah. Very well, I chuckled, taking the food we had gathered and putting it on my back, making Neltharion shift his position to fit better. As I walked back to the camp, I pondered how I would feel with the crown in my head. Would I feel any different from now? Or would it feel the same? Threats would certainly be better contained, and I would have more freedom to live. One thing was for sure, I wanted to melt that throne. That shit had only shattered this world, and besides, it looked mighty uncomfortable. As I was deep in thought, the sound of hooves approaching snapped me out of my long reverie. My call, you left without us, my blood rider said, somewhat insulted. They were supposed to be my shadows, and I left them behind. I was hunting, wanted some time alone. I had him with a glare that said, I appreciate the gesture, but fuck off. But now that you are here, take this back to the camp, it will be my dinner. Highest. Our dinner, I added. My blood riders nodded, as they took the prey I was carrying on my back, giving a horse to ride back. I got back to the campsite where one of my ravens was waiting for me with a message from my navy. They apparently were going to arrive earlier than I anticipated, in just 1 week's time. Which worked for best considering I wanted to take control of Lys before Daenerys got to the birth part. How was your little adventure? Daenerys inquired, entering the war tent. It was fine. Neltharion really enjoyed the trip, more so than me. I smiled, seeing the baby dragon sleeping on my desk. He seems really attached to you, Daenerys giggled, maybe as a sign you'll be a great dad. I sure hope so, because mine suck, both in this and my past life. We are not our fathers, Daenerys smiled soothingly. I'm not mad, and you're not an idiot. I guess, I smiled. Any news? Daenerys inquired. Our navy will arrive in a week, I informed her. I had yet to ask my ravens for the status report of what was happening in Westeros. Lys, I heard the call at the City of Pleasure, Daenerys smiled. Seems appropriate to have our kids there, not as appropriate to have them in our home, but this will do. Soon, I reassured, soon that crown would be in our heads. Soon, Daenerys sighed happily. After getting the update to what was going on in Westeros, I was a tad surprised. It seems I had saved Ned Stark from his imminent demise. Lord Varys had delivered what he was asked to. In a different way, I didn't make a deal for Lord Stark, but for his daughters, and because they didn't need to be saved, Varys simply filled that debt with the next best thing, their father. Clever little man, he either has an inkling I'm mad at him and because of that he is trying to buy me over, or he is just being extra careful to not owe me anything. Poor little man, only death awaits him. He put my children on the line, and that was unforgivable. And, to add to my list of idiots, there was Catelyn Stark. She was already on the list, but got to the top 10 really fast, saying I will feel the retribution of House Stark, quite the big words for someone with zero power. I can't wait to see her kneeling in my name, I chuckled, imagining how much she would suffer kneeling to someone she once was more powerful. Cersei Lannister point of view. Father had arrived, and like I predicted he wasn't happy at all. You let our only bargaining chips slip between your fingers? Father growled, smashing his fist on the table, fissuring the wood just a bit. I didn't allow anything. Someone helped him, someone inside our ranks, I informed him, trying to keep my mind cool, because no matter how powerful I felt, I still feared Father, the most powerful man in Westeros. I didn't get one single competent child, one is an idiot, the other a monster, and you think you are smart, but you are nothing, Father growled. I am the queen. I was a queen. How dare he? I was still the queen. Of nothing, Father slapped me. We have no allies, no bargaining chips, we have nothing, all we have is my army, and my money, so you'll do what I say if you want to win, am I clear? Crystal, I muttered, feeling my face burning with pain and anger, but he was right, without him. We have no chance. Good, and please control the mad dog you have as a child, before I do it, Father added, and you know full well how I do stuff. I gulped, yes, Father, as I nodded between gritted teeth. Chapter 52. I wrenched my eyes wide open. The sound of my ravens waking me up, it probably was time to the coast, for when my ships arrived. I stared for a second at the black-colored ceiling of my tent, really wishing I could sleep a few more seconds, but sadly I have kingly duties to attend to. Well, time to see the sore losers. Yesterday I had a drinking contest with my men, and I had drunk enough alcohol to kill 2 elephants, but because my body metabolism is so efficient in processing toxins and other stuff, my body rendered alcohol useless. I do get tipsy though, but it takes a while. With a smile, I jumped off the bed, making sure Daenerys was sleeping soundly, and everyone but Neltharion stayed sleeping, for he notices that I'm leaving and climbs up to my shoulder, looking at me like I was about to betray him and leave. Let's go, buddy, I chuckled while I petted the little dragon on my shoulder as I walked out. Outside, I could see my man walking by, eating and drinking, but I wasn't here to admire their basic routines, so with a deep breath of annoyance, mostly because the sunlight was hurting me, for not sleeping enough, I started to walk up to my raven. Caw. The ships are arriving at Pentos in 10 days, we have to move, caw. My raven informed me as soon as I was in front of him, it was time to start marching, but there was a chance Bravos would see an army that big marching towards Pentos as a threat and attack me preemptively. To avoid ruining my plan, I would have to separate my army to show them I was no threat to them, leaving a part with my wife, at least while I got my ships, the ones coming and the ones I had left on the coast with Viserys. Talking about Viserys, I wonder how the little waste of cum is doing. I do hope he is wishing to die at this point. Viserys Targaryen point of view. Total and absolute disgrace. I had been forced into the most deplorable situation, but the day of my retribution would come. I would kill that bastard for what he had done. He would pay. I knew sooner or later my allies would break me free, the sames that Illyrio said that had secret toasts on my name. They were soon to rescue me. I knew I could feel it. I was their rightful king, and they loved me. It was simply a matter of time, to bring that treacherous snake down, and take what is mine, what belongs to me. My sister and my throne. Back to Ronard point of view. My army was composed of 80,000 men or so, but to get my ship I would travel back with only 5,000 men, right about the same amount I had before starting with gathering the Dothraki. It has been quite a while since I last saw Illyrio. I wonder if he still fears me. I suppose there's only one way to find out if he still does. You are in charge of everyone here. I had informed all my men, that while I was gone her words were the law. Poor those who disobey their queen, Daenerys giggled, I'll be fine, be safe. I will, I nodded, giving her a goodbye kiss. She would be safe, she had an army few could even hope to match, and a pair of baby dragons ready to bite for her. Neltharion was coming with me, he didn't care for reason, he really imprinted in me, in a cute but obsessive way. It would take me a couple weeks to reach Pentos, if we didn't encounter any problems, but considering I outnumbered any of the remaining Dothraki tribes, I was good if anyone wanted to raid me. In fact, I welcomed it. That way they would save me the time to go out and look for them, quite the trouble. Let's go, I ordered as we marched to Pentos. Ned Stark point of view. It has been quite a while since I escaped out of King's Landing thanks to Ronard. So far my merchant caravan had been moving slowly, but I was safe. After all, no one suspected the helper that was working with them, unloading the boxes and items, was actually the lord everyone was looking for. Almost 3 weeks of traveling, where I was on constant paranoia I would be captured, or something would happen, 3 weeks where I had to be completely alert, but after all that, I was finally here at Riverrun, the ancestral seat of House Tully. I could feel a smile forming on my face as I saw the castle as we descended. A few more miles and I would be reunited with my family, freedom within my grasp. I had to give something to these merchants. They helped me, even though they didn't have to. They know I had risked their lives for this very moment of peace and tranquility. I'm coming home, I muttered with an uncontrollable smile on my face. This moment of happiness would end quite fast. The moment I arrived, I would be dragged into this war of schemes and backstabbing I have so desperately tried to avoid. I would have to support Stannis on his claim. He was the rightful heir, and yet I owe Ronard my life. I was bound by honor to Stannis, and by gratitude to Ronard. What can I do? Robb Stark. Father had escaped a while ago and we had yet to find him. With him the North would be whole again, our family would be whole again. I have tried to be strong, to show I have no fear and will bring the justice the North deserves, but I was afraid I would lose everyone I loved in this war. Stannis wanted us to bend the knee, but I had agreed with the lords to wait for Father's answers, as he was the one who spoke for the North as a whole. But Stannis and the Lannisters aren't our only threat. Ronard was a pretty prominent one, that was more and more dangerous every day. He's been increasing his army and resources at an alarming speed. Rumors say he already has an army big enough to take on the North and all its banners. He didn't even take his time to get a new fiancée. He was a power-hungry man that needed to be taken down, quoting Mother, and maybe she was right. He killed Theon like a dog, brutally punching him to the death, so maybe Mother was right. Maybe he was a monster, one that I would have to take care of. That's what I would want to say, but I've seen him fight. I know I can't best him in combat, but with Grey Wynn, he stands no chance. No man is stronger than a dire wolf. Friend or foe, if you take a wrong step, I will end you. I sighed, for I was a wolf that would go to hell and back to protect his pack. HRMMM, an idiot he is, if and then wolf depending he is, YRRSSSS. Unbeknownst to him, a very wise raven with a Jedi cape was watching him carefully. Joffrey Baratheon point of view. Nothing, no results, nothing. How could they be so insolent to disobey their king? I said I wanted Lord Stark, and he is not here. They deserve to pay for this, yes. They do. They have broken a royal order, and life is the only payment I will accept. Their pain will clean them. I want all my royal guard dead, for their incompetence, I said with a wide smile. I knew grandfather would support me, he understood how to rule correctly. You won't do such a thing, Tywin sighed. Who the hell he thinks he is to deny a king of his wish? That was an order. I shouted, anger boiling in my core, as I gritted my teeth, but I was soon enough greeted by a slap. You'll do well to remember who is keeping you on that throne, boy. Tywin said, his cold eyes and demeanor were more frightening. I was a king, he can't do this. You can't. I was about to complain, but a glare from Tywin was more than enough to shut me up. I can and I will. Behave like a king and I will follow. Until then, sit and let me keep you in the throne, am I clear? Tywin asked with a condescending tone. With Ronard on our back and Stannis on our front, we need every able man. We can't throw resources we don't have, just because you want to, not now. Ronard, that coward, if he was such a threat he would be here feeling the taste of my blade. Ronard is no threat. Once the time comes, I will cut his head, and show him the power of a true king, maybe with a duel. He is a threat, even bigger than Stannis, and his brother. He's been playing the game without losing so far, more than we can say, certainly better than you, so don't think for a second that pretty crown in your head will shrink the massive gap in skill between you and him, and always remember, kings can always fall, Tywin said with a cold tone. He really thought that bastard was better than me, that he could best me in anything? Unacceptable, I was superior to Ronard in every way. I am better. I was about to rebut this ludicrous statement, but grandfather stopped me. I have a kingdom to keep under you, so shut up and let me, Tywin said as he left the throne room, not before adding, I don't have time to waste, especially not with your tantrums. Chapter 53. Olenna Tyrell point of view. War, men were such predictable creatures, fighting for power, money and women, but I had to be fair, some fought for other men, like Renly was fighting because of the soft whispers of my grandson. What a foolish little boy, and what's even more foolish is Mace, that thinks the poor lad will win the throne and make Margaery's queen. Even if he won this war, which was hardly unlikely, he would most likely put Loras as his queen. The thought of it really puts on a new perspective. but it won't get to that. Renly is all talk, but little show. Yet here we are too deep into the gutter to escape it now. We must see it through. Every time Mace makes a decision by himself, consequences of catastrophic magnitudes follow through. In this family only the roses have thorns, and men are no roses. Mace was too dumb to see we had bigger problems, that it was best if we didn't get into this war so early on, but men rarely do see things outside their narrow point of view. Ronald Mormont, he was a better candidate to ally ourselves with. After taking care of his wife, he would be free to marry Marjorie. Accidents happen after all, and while he came from a small house, the lad was terrifying in many aspects. Economically and in war potential he was the best of his generation, by far. Rumors say he has an army of over 80,000 soldiers, he himself has conquered, and other most unbelievable rumors say he has 3 dragons. If everything they said was correct, he was the one we needed on our side. Frankly, things like this just reassure my point. Men should not rule, I sighed. Jon Snow point of view. War had started, my family was in danger, father was missing, so many things, but I was held by blood and honor to the night watch. But if I had known this would happen, I would have stayed with them. I would have my sword ready to fight for Robb. Father taught me honor comes before anything, before family, before love. The least a bastard like me could do was honor his teachings, and hope everything goes well. Lord Snow, move your ass, we need you. My commander-in-charge shouted. Yes, sir. Ned Stark point of view. I was finally within friends and family. Hoster Tully and his son Edmure Tully recognized me. I didn't even have to prove it was me. After a long talk about how I managed to escape, and my journey, they left me to rest for a bit, to recover myself from all this. They of course had sent a raven to inform my family of my current whereabouts. It would take a couple of days for us to hear back from them, but soon they would know I was safe and sound here. Hoster was surprised to say the least when he heard Ronard had been the one to save me from the imminent death that awaited me. Honor, gratitude, without Ronard I would be dead, but if I went back on my honor. Things are never easy on war, I would have to end up betraying someone, and in both paths I would lose something. Lord Stark, supper is ready, a maid said entering the room I was given. I'll be there in a few, I nodded. Ronard Mormont point of view. After leaving my wife 2 weeks ago, with an army to protect her should anything arise that would threaten her safety, I started to make my way to Pentos. By now I could see the city from afar. If I had to take an estimate, I would say I was a few hours away from it. A few hours away from my men and ships. With that in mind, I speed up our pace, so as to make sure we didn't waste any time. On this march, we weren't here for tourism anyway. The last time I was in this city I left with nothing but my self-proclaimed title of kingship, and now, I had come back with a new title, the king of the Dothraki tribes, the Great Call, the Great Stallion. That last one was a tad weird coming from the mouth of a man. Regardless, I was someone of greater importance. Bravos must consider me a threat regardless of what I do, but they were overconfident. After all, no one would dare to oppose them. They had more money than the 7 kingdoms, and the entirety of Essos together, which was a statement of how powerful they were economically speaking. After all, they had the Iron Bank on their side. And it is the wealthiest bank of the known world that is known because it often lends money to outsiders, such as the lords of the 7 kingdoms. The bank is also famous for its discretion and secrecy. No one knows where they are truly located, and or where they save their money. They are also feared. Even the Lannisters fear opposing them, for a common saying among the Bravosi is the Iron Bank will have its due. If someone happened to fail payment, the Iron Bank would sponsor someone to take their enemies down. But, unlike others, I would succeed in taking every penny they had. I had my ravens investigating where the bank was truly located and where the money was stored. I expected to know the answer by the moment it was time to march against them. Let's go, we have some ships to move, I shouted in a happy tone. Arya Stark point of view. Of life or death, I feared my father would not come back. I feared I would lose my family to those bastards ruling, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. A lady can do and be anything she pleases, a housewife or a trained killer. Whatever you do, it makes it ladylike. Don't let narrow-minded individuals to tell you otherwise, for their minds are weak, and we don't follow the weak. The voice of Ronard, that time we spent together during his betrothal ceremony, echoed in my head. He was right. I might not be able to do anything now, but I will soon. If I keep training and honing my water dancing skills, I will be able to help my family, to save my friends, and to kill my enemies. Too bad Sansa couldn't marry him. He was a decent guy, Mother keeps saying he is our enemy, but I don't believe it. Like always, Mother must be wrong. He would never hurt us. Not without a reason. Varys' point of view. Lord Stark had finally gotten out of the lion's den. He was finally with his family, albeit politically. Nonetheless, he was immensely more safe that he could have been here. I wonder, will he support the young bear or the old stag? I did put him on an inner conundrum when I revealed why I was helping him. I wanted to see his resolve. Would his honor to Robert bound him to Stannis, or would his gratitude to Ronard push him to forsake his misplaced honor? Things would surely prove more difficult for the wolf, whatever his choice was. With Ronard on the Targaryen side, Aegon was sure to take up the throne eventually, and if Ronard did not compel, he had already put babies inside Daenerys. He wasn't needed anymore should he prove to be against the rightful ruler. Though this was easier said than done, he was the most informed me in the world, possibly even more than me, so if I had to take a guess, it was most likely he already knew of my true intentions. If so, I had to play safe or I would wake up dead. I had to throw him off his game. Whether he was a friend or a foe to Aegon, it was still to be seen. He keeps getting more and more dangerous. Daenerys' point of view. Ronard had left almost 2 weeks ago, to gather our ships, so we could start our conquest, and eventually take what's rightfully mine, rightfully ours. At this point, surprises were a common occurrence with him. He united a tribe of savages under one banner, our banner. He brought creatures thought to extinct back to life, and had become one of the greatest warriors of this generation, all in the span of 16 years. He had accomplished so more, including winning my undying love, so this chance he had given me, to lead his army on his absence, this chance, I would prove him I was more than a decorative queen, that I too could make our enemies tremble with our mere name, that I could protect him just as he protected me. Crow and Regal were key parts of that, for when the time came, I would ride them into battle and burn our enemies. I would not let anyone hurt my family. Not again. For I was the Dragon Queen. This marks the end of Part 10 of the story Game of Thrones, The Prideful One. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.